What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Recruit review. Today we're going to be looking at our first soft-sided cooler review. Typically we've done hard-sided coolers. We've got 3 or 4 different videos from Yeti to Igloo to Canyon to Gator to Orca. And today we are going to go ahead and look at the Yeti Hopper Flip 18 soft cooler. I picked this thing up on Amazon for $300. It shipped to me about 3 days later, and I believe I had it within the same week. I ordered it on like a Monday and it was here by Friday. But in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and unbox this thing. I'm going to open it up, give you just a general rundown of some different features on the cooler, what it's all about pretty much, and show you some things that I like about it, some things that I don't like about it. And then we'll go ahead and throw some ice in it, some drinks in it, and we'll see how long the ice can last in this thing. So stay tuned, it should be a good review. And if you would, go ahead, like this video, leave a comment on it. If you have any questions, we'll try to get back to you below. So to start off with some of the basics, this cooler can hold 24 pounds of ice. Now that's if you've got nothing else in it. It can hold 20 cans if you've got a 2-to-1 ratio as far as 20 cans, and then, you know, double the ice or the amount of room that 20 cans would take up. And it has a overall capacity on the inner side of 6.2 gallons. So I'll go ahead and show you some of the measurements here. I just got a tape out real quick just to give you a rough idea of how this thing is shaped. So you can see that this thing is pretty small in stature. It's one of the pros of having this thing is that you can literally fit it anywhere you want. As far as in the vehicle, you can keep it in the back seat, which would be perfect for road trips. And I've even read some comments where people were using this as a carry-on bag to carry their clothes in on an airplane, and then whenever they got to like a beach destination or somewhere that they needed a cooler, they would take their clothes out and use this thing as a cooler, which I think is just, that's a genius idea to use for a carry-on bag. But it's got a really nice fabric on the outside. That's a high density fabric that is supposed to be mildew resistant. Now I don't plan on testing that out. I think that will take a little while to know, but I'm really impressed with the outer shell. It seems like it's going to hold up well, and it's waterproof, so it's supposed to be UV proof too. We have not had this thing long enough to be able to tell on that. I'll go ahead and open this thing up for you guys. As you can tell, this thing has a really nice zipper on it. It's pretty heavy duty. It's hard to get open actually. And I'll show you around what's on the inside here. There's a couple different things that come with the cooler. You've got some zipper lubricant, and I think that I'll be using that pretty soon based on how hard it was to open this thing. And you've also got a really nice strap. This will definitely be something for me that I have on at all times, because I think it's going to be the easiest way to haul this thing around. And last but not least, you've got some Yeti stickers and some instructions on how they recommend to use the cooler, and kind of like a best practice, best procedure type of piece of paper that just gives you a rundown on everything. Something else that's pretty awesome about this thing is that it comes with a 3-year warranty. Now I don't know all the details on this yet, but I will provide some in the description. I think my favorite part of the cooler is the amount of handles. I think it's a great idea to have this many on there. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, plus that strap that you can throw on there. And you've also got some webbing on the front where you could run some thin rope or something through it to tie it down, say you're going on a side-by-side ride or something. So the outer shell is definitely very well designed. You got heavy-duty plastic clips, that nice strap. It fits pretty well, and it has an adjustment on it. I haven't got it dialed in yet, but it rides somewhere right above the hip. So if you had a lot of weight in there, you've got kind of, you know, something to push against, being as it's against your hip. So it rides pretty well if you're walking around, and it also rides pretty well if you're gonna, you know, have to tie it down to a side-by-side or something. Something I want to show y'all is what you can throw in this thing, just as a reference. This is a 3-liter bottle of water. It fits perfectly, really. It's a little tall, but enough cushion on top to push down. Now you can't stand a bottle of wine in there. but you can lay it down, and you can also put multiple bottles in there. Say you're hitting the wine trails or something and you just want to keep those along with you and try to get kicked out of the winery because you brought your own wine. But here's a random one here, half a watermelon. I guess you could get a whole one in there if you turned it on its side. We got 2 dozen eggs in case you have a storm coming. Some milk, can't forget that if the storm's on its way. It's a whole gallon there. You could fit probably 2 or 3 gallons in there. And now we're gonna get to kind of the meat and potato. These cans and a couple of adult beverages here and a water we pulled out of the refrigerator, already cooled. Pretty much made a layer that I thought was like 1/3 the depth of the entire cooler height. And then I took it uptown to go get some ice. I got a 16-pound bag of ice, and I stuffed this thing as full as I could. I got about 14 or 15 pounds in there probably, and you can see I can barely shut the lid on it. But we got it in there. I was actually able to zip this thing shut with one hand, which was a lot, to my surprise, I didn't think I'd be able to do. After I got the cooler closed full of ice, I set it in the truck overnight, and we had probably temperatures in the 60s that night. And then I took it to work the next day, continued letting it sit in the truck so it was nice and warm, a really good tough test environment. And I would say it was close to 100 degrees, if not a little more, in my truck that next day. And I got home, took it out, opened it up, and quite a bit of ice melt had happened, which was kind of expected. So the next day I thought it'd be a little bit better to leave it in the shade on the porch, and it got up to about 90 the second day outside, so another tough day of weather. And by the time I opened it up, we were totally down to water. So ice retention is definitely not this thing's strong suit, and I only grabbed 1 drink out of it. I had it opened once, so not a lot of cool air was lost out of that thing by opening and closing it. You know, I said I only took 1 drink out, and something else I noticed was there's a lot of air built up on the inside, but I kind of expected that. And if you were opening it and closing it over and over, you would lose a lot of that air, so that wouldn't be an issue. But as far as the first ice test goes, not so hot in the hot conditions, but I want to do another test here. I'm going to go take it uptown again, get it loaded up, same amount of cans, pre-chilled cans as well, and we're going to leave this in the house at room temperature, about 70 degrees, and see if we can't do a little bit better than 2 days. Something that I'd like to mention real quick is that this thing doesn't have a drain plug. Just like most soft-sided coolers, it lacks that feature, so that's just something to think about. You got to turn it over, which it's not really heavy at all. Once I had it loaded down, I would say it's somewhere in the 30 to 35 pound range. So a small guy like me was still able to just tip it over and pour the water out. So if that's something you're worried about, is water collecting in there and having to drain it out, then you would consider this as a con, but I think you're going to find that typical of most soft-sided coolers. So this is a clip here right after I just loaded it up with ice. You can see I've got it pretty stuffed in there, maybe room for a few more cubes, but pretty similar to what I had in there the first time here in this controlled environment. This is a day later, 24 hours to be exact, and all I'm doing here is opening it up. It's been sitting here. I haven't opened it yet from the day before, and you can see some ice had melted below this big chunk here at the top, but we've got quite a bit more than we did whenever we had it outside for that 90 or 100 degree day. The 70 degree temperature difference is making a big difference. So here we are 2 days later. I'm actually expecting it to be almost melted, and it's not. We still have quite a bit of ice, plenty good enough. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and give it another 12 hours or so. So I'll check on it a little bit later tonight or maybe in the morning. But so far so good in the 70 degree temperatures. We're 2 days and counting. I'm gonna go ahead and take a drink out of here, and we'll open this thing up again here in a little bit. So the next morning rolls around and we are all out of ice. I think the safe thing to say on this is 2 to 2.5 days of ice retention in a controlled environment with no sunlight hitting it, no humidity, and 70 degree temperatures. So you might get more than 2 days out of it if it's cool springtime temperatures or wintertime even, and maybe you're a trout fisherman or somebody that's going to haul this along. But as far as like a summertime camping trip, it's not going to last all weekend on you, especially if you're in and out of it. But I mean, I think it's made for like a one-day adventure. I think it's overpriced for that. I personally wouldn't buy it if I was just gonna use it for camping and stuff. But if you're somebody that travels a little bit, maybe it's the right cooler for you. If you would, go ahead and check out some of these items that we have in our shop. I figured this is a good time to show you. We've got quite a few different stickers here, a koozie, and a couple coasters that you can put in the cup holders of your car or your boat. But if you guys found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe. Let me know what color you like the most. This color's navy. Let's hear what color you're gonna go with when you purchase this thing.